All right. Hi, everyone. We are going over offer accepted. Now what? If you are watching this, go ahead and email me, wendy.schaller@realtyoneGroup.com, and I can email you over the package. For those of you in the class, thank you for attending today. So what this class is going to discuss is you've made an offer, you've viewed homes, now you've made an offer, and now they've accepted the offer. So what happens after that? First, you jump for joy, yay! And then you're going to bundle all of your executed documents together. The RPA, the counteroffers, the addendums, any contingency paperwork, pretty much anything that was negotiated on when you were going back and forth with the offer, and then it's going to be sent over to title. Now, who opens escrow? Does the buyer's agent open escrow or does the listing agent open escrow? Any thoughts? Well, yes, technically whoever, but I always say it's the person that wins the title company, right? So because if you put Rock Title and then the listing agent says, no, we need to use my title company, and they counter it out, you don't have that title company's information, right? So I always say, thank you for accepting the offer. Can you please open escrow? I don't have your escrow officer's information. And then they'll do it. But if it's my title company, right? If I win my Rock Title, and they go ahead, the listing agent goes ahead and opens it, I'm still going to send my email also to make sure they have all the information and nothing's lag time there, right? So you're going to bundle it all together and then you're going to email it over. We do have scripts. I don't know if I put it in here. I don't think I did, actually. Maybe I did. No, I did not include it in this package. But we have a script that you're going to email over, the verbiage in the body of the letter, you know, congratulations everyone, we have an accepted offer for 123 Main Street. Do you have it in there? I don't have it in mine. Mine's missing. But anyways, yeah, I don't have it in mind. But then just and say, please open escrow for this property. Please TC Tim and Wendy and my transaction coordinator, Maria. You'll follow the script there. I just don't have it. And then say, here's a summary of the, the offer, the accepted contract, sales price to be $500. Contingency timeframes, earnest money 3 days, $5,000. Due diligence period 10 days, appraisal contingency, loan contingency, and you just kind of go down there and just summarize it, right? And then I like to say, if I'm the buyer's agent, I always say buyers' names, and I put their first names and last names. That is it. I do not put emails or phone numbers in that starting email, because you are going to email it to the title escrow officer. You're going to email the listing agent and the lender, and if they have a TC on that side, whoever. So I don't want all those other people to have my client's information, right? So I just do their first and last name, and then I'll put buyer's agent, my name, my phone number, my email, so everybody that is getting in contact with the lender and all that has my contact information. And then I'll include the listing agent and what I know about them. The seller's first and last names I got off the tax record. That's all I know. And if it's a trust or an LLC, just copy whatever's on that tax record there. And then I'll say, please open escrow. Let me know if you have any questions. Then I send it to all of those people. Again, title and escrow, the lender, the listing agent, any TCs, and then you'll CC me and Tim on it, because if you're on the mentee program. And then after I send it, I send a separate email to that title and escrow officer. And I just say, hi, I'm the buyer's agent. Here is all my client's contact information, first and last name, phone numbers, emails. They need all of that. I'll tell them my commission is, I'll say 3%, listing agents paying 2.5%, buyers are picking up the other half. And I will attach my BBRA, because title and escrow is going to need that. They're going to need to see that they've actually agreed to do that. I'll say transaction fee, $800, $900, whatever it is in there. But that's my personal information for me, my client, and the title and escrow company, right? I don't even include the lender on that stuff. I just let that be. I mean, technically you could, because the lender is, he's representing your clients, and then he's going to need to know if they have to pay out of pocket or any extra commission or whatever. So you can include title, escrow, and the lender on that second email. And that's just opening it so now everybody's on the same page. Now you got to get to work. So title and escrow opens, the the transaction, and now you want to, within 24 hours, and I like to do it the same day, contact the home inspector. Now, again, if your clients don't have a preferred home inspector, you can give them 2 contact information, right? And say, which one would you like? I'll go ahead and schedule that. If it is a vacant home, I always just kind of say, what's your next available? If somebody's living in that home, you need to say, can you give me 2 options of dates and times as soon as possible? And then you have to call that listing agent to go ahead and see if that works with the person that's living in the home, whether that's a homeowner or a tenant, right? Because you can't just assume that they're going to move for you, or step out for you. But if it's vacant, I just say, yep, ideally I would like to get the inspector out there within 24 to 48 hours, right? If you have a 10-day due diligence, you don't want to wait 3 days to get him out there, because after he does the inspection, it takes a whole 24 hours for him to do the report. And then once you get it, if it's late in the evening, you might not go over it until day 5, and then you're like, oh wow, we need a roofer out here and a plumber out here, and I need to get more estimates. You only have 5 days left of your due diligence period. How are you going to get estimates? You have to get all those companies out there, right? You want to send them a repair request. So you have to draw up a repair request and send it to them before that 10 days expires, because in the 10-day due diligence period, it's for you to do your inspections, write a repair request, them negotiate, kick it back, counter this, counter that, all in those 10 days. You have to get it all done, right? So that's why 24 to 48 hours, get your inspector out there.
Can it be more than 10 days?
It can be, but general rule, like if you were to give me an offer, I'm going to go 7 to 10. I'm going to reduce you. But if you say I have an out-of-town client and they'd like to come in for the inspections, I might give you an extra 2 days. But that's about it. Mm-hmm.
So the repair request, we do it on RPA?
No. So the RPA is one thing. The counteroffer goes with the RPA. Addendums can be used throughout the transaction, but the only time you're going to need a counteroffer is when you're doing the RPA. So counteroffer, RPA, counteroffer, and then it's accepted. After that, you have a repair request form, and then you would just write number 1, number 2, number 3 on the top of those, right? We don't have a repair request addendum. It's just a second version of it. So what you're going to want to do is get the inspections done right away. I have people that will wait 3 days before they even call the inspector. And then he's like, I can't get out there for another 2 days. Now you're at 5 days. And then it's another 24 hours. That's at 6 days. So they end up just saying, hey, can you fix these things? And then they say no. And you're like, okay. Now, what we do is when you're on the Mentee program, we have a little statement. We have you put in the additional terms of your offer that says buyer's due diligence period to be extended by the same number of days it takes for the seller to respond to our repair request in writing, right? So if I give it to them on day 8 and they take another 5 days, now we're at day 13. Well, you took 5 days, so now you can respond to me, and we've just added 5 days. Because back in the day, what would happen is I would give them the repair request and they'd hold it. And at day 10, if I have the right to cancel or take the house as is because they haven't responded. So now this alleviates that. It just keeps extending. Some agents on the other side have gotten smart at other brokerages and they counter that out. And they're like, nope. So you have to be on your toes. A lot of them read it and they don't understand it, so they just accept it and go whatever. And we're not trying to be sneaky. We're just trying to make sure our clients are taken care of if they want to drag their feet, right? Because sometimes you're like, they're looking at you, and I have a whole nother class on repair requests, inspections and repair requests. But they're looking at you like, what should I ask for? It is not your job to tell them what they should ask for, because I might say every plumbing fixture in this house needs to be redone. And that to me is like, oh my gosh, the whole house. But they might have a brother that's a plumber is going to do it for free. So they're like, I'm not even worried about the plumbing. Everybody has a different level of what's important to them. So you could just you'll get a copy of it, because the inspector, once he does it, he emails it to you and he emails a copy to them. And what I usually say is go ahead and go to, hey, I'll text them. I saw that the inspector has delivered the home inspection to both of us. Go ahead and go through that and give me your top 6 items that really concern you. Number 1 being your most important item, like you won't buy the house if it's not fixed, and down, and then I'll get back with you. I'll read it later tonight and get back with you, and when we can discuss it. I give them the time to read it. It's not my job to decipher all of that, right? So then they'll read it and draw that up. But so going back, so we're going to accept the offer. We send everything back and forth back to the escrow officer. We open escrow, and then we get the home inspector out there. So you're going to want to schedule that. It's just easier for you. We do this every day. The clients don't. They're like, who do I call? What do I say? And they're going to ask you, like, what's the square footage of the property? What area is it located in? Is it 1 story, 2 story? Does it have a pool? Does it have extra fixture or dwellings like casita or something like that, right? So they'll ask you all of that. Then they'll ask you the year of the home, because if it's a little bit older, before 1968. We have some homes, I just saw one the other day that was popped up as like 1940. They're still here. They need to be a little bit more thorough when they're going through those properties, right? And then, so you set that up. And then what you're going to try to do is get all the disclosures from the seller. I like to get my SRPD from the seller before my inspector goes out there. The SRPD, it is in here. It's a 5-page document that the seller has to fill out. And it says, are you aware of any problems or defect with the following? And it's yes, no, or not applicable, right? And anything that they mark yes to, they have to explain on page 3 why they wrote yes to it. Not every yes is a bad thing. On page 2, number 8, where everybody always messes up, but it asks you if you share any common adjoining walls with the landowners. And most everybody puts no, because they're like, I'm not in a condo or a townhome. You've got a brick wall that you share with your neighbors, so that number 8 is almost always yes. And so on page 3, you would mark, you would say, page 2, number 8, yes, share a back block wall with the neighbor, right? And then number 9 on page 2 talks about an HOA. Are you located in an HOA? Yes. Do you have reoccurring fees? Yes. So on page 3, you have to write page 2, number 9. Yes, we are in an HOA. Here's the Terra West or whatever company it is. 9A, yes, we have recurring fees. 9B, yes, we have this. Da, da, da. You just explain it. But they also ask you questions like, was there any water damage? Has there been any mold? Have there been issues with the electrical, the plumbing, the sewer? Again, you can say, hey, the flap on the toilet, upstairs secondary bathroom toilet, failed and had a flood in the bathtub. So yes, you had an issue with plumbing. Yes, you had an issue with water. So all of that has to be disclosed. And I try to get this before my inspector goes out there, because now I give it to my inspector if there's a lot of yeses. If it's just HOA stuff, I don't bother. But if there's anything wrong with the house that's been corrected, I give it to my inspector, because I want him to tell me to look a little bit harder at each of these items. And if there was a water issue somewhere, I want him to go and see if there's any moisture still left in there, right? This form, no matter what side you're on, is super important. If you're on the listing side, guys, just so you know, we're not allowed to, as agents, to even touch this form. You're not allowed to put the date on it, the address on it, nothing. This is a form you hand your clients and let them fill out. This form is so important, and I tell my clients that, just be honest, because the buyers have up to 6 years to come back after you for 3 times the amount of damages it cost for them to repair something that you lied about on this form. So this form's hanging over every seller's head for 6 years if they've lied and it's gotten found out by the buyers. So, and why it's important for our clients is we're letting them know, as our buyers, hey, these things are wrong, have been fixed, whatever, repaired, added to it, any fixtures that were not permitted. Super important if you live in an HOA and they've added something to the house that wasn't permitted. You buy the house now, or the buyer buys the house, and now the HOA is coming back after them, or wanting them to tear it down because it doesn't fit their architectural board needs, right? So now they bought the house with this really cool, I don't know, RV gate or structure on the side, and they're like, nope, you got to take it down. And they're like, that's why I bought the house. So it's an important form for everybody to pay attention to, right? So I get all my disclosures, anything that's important, and then I send it over to the home inspector if needed. And you just email it to them. You're going to build a good rapport with some of these home inspectors, guys, because they'll be at the property calling you like, hey, this is what I just saw, or hey, they've got a lock on this gate, I can't access it, or people put padlocks on their breakers, We see that a lot. We understand that, but then they forget to take it off, and now the inspector can't test the breakers. He can't look at the breaker box. So he calls you as a buyer's agent and says, what do you want me to do? Can you get a hold of the listing agent? Is there a key hidden somewhere? If not, can we cut it off? If not, there's another $150 trip charge for him to come back and test it, and you want it tested. A lot of times there's issues with the breaker boxes. They're run different ways. They're not the right sizes. They've blown up, whatever it is. So you really do want to test that. So you tell the agent, okay, well, can you go over there right now and unlock it? If not, can he cut it off? No. Okay, well, it's going to be a $150 trip charge. Are you paying that? Like you knew he was coming. It happens sometimes, guys. I've had a client where they had a security door out front, but they leave through their garage. They knew the inspector was coming, so they unlocked their deadbolt from the inside and went out the garage. And when he got there, he couldn't get in the house because the security gate was locked. I paid for that $150 trip charge because my clients, my sellers would not, but it was not the buyer's fault, right? So there's sometimes, I don't encourage you to pick up fees. I really don't. But sometimes they get the deals done, like they were just being sticklers about it. And they're like, no, it's not my fault. But you lock the door, you lock them out of there. And then they did it again for their walkthrough. I'm like, you guys, what are you doing? I told you to leave it. I know, but now my husband did it. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's not a $150 trip charge. That was just me trying to run over there and trying to do it. But things do happen, and we just want to make sure. And I always try, this one is to, hey, my inspector, even if it's vacant, my inspector's coming over Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Are all utilities left on? Because if they vacate, sometimes these sellers think, well, I'm not living there. I'm not paying for the water and the power and all that. They can't test the house unless it is. So if you're going to take a listing, always tell your sellers that all utilities need to stay on until 3 days after close of escrow. I say 3 days after because sometimes we're set to close on a Tuesday. Oh, something happened and it didn't close till Wednesday. And then Wednesday rolls around and it's 5 o'clock and then they can't get in until Thursday and now the power's off. So I always tell them 3 days after close of escrow. So once we get recording, now you guys can go ahead and set that to shut off, right? But just be courteous of the buyers moving in, right? And again, what people don't realize is the minute the buyers call up and start theirs, it kicks the sellers out. So the sellers they're not going to double pay on that house. So just give reassurance to the sellers when you're on that side. But okay, so you send the email over. Oh, I did write it in here. Okay, congratulations everyone. The offer's been accepted. Please open escrow 123 Main Street. Give everyone's contact information below, the summary of the offer. And then, I put in here, I represent the seller in this transaction. It should have been buyer, but I don't have a pen. So just know, cross that out and say it should be buyer. I represent the buyer in this transaction. Attaches the RPA and counter offers. Below you'll find all parties' contact information. I'm with Realty One Group at the Summerlin office. I look forward to your help in working with you. If you can get me, there's an estimate for a closing statement. It's a little soon, but okay. Anyways, you CC everybody in there. You, as a buyer's agent, should never be talking to the sellers, okay? And then the listing agent should never be talking directly to our buyers. That's what the buyer's agent and the listing agent should be, the mediators, right? You don't want to get to that point because then all of a sudden it's a mess. And like a listing agent could say, what are you doing? Why are you talking to my clients? And they can turn you in. You don't want to do that, right? But so that's all that information to open. Okay. There are strict timelines throughout the transaction, so mark down the date and time of the form we give you. So we give you guys a form, if you're in the Summerlin office. It's this important contingency date form. The minute your offer is accepted on either side, listing or buyer, it says who's the realtor's name, that's your name, the lender, their name and phone number, a client, is it a buyer, seller, and their names, and then the address of the property. And then it goes on, what is the original date of the offer? And that date is on page 1 of your RPA in the top right. It's not the date it's accepted, it's the date that you wrote the offer. Then the second one is the acceptance date. And that's when the offer and every counter offer has been accepted. It's the last date that everybody agreed on, right? So there's original date and there's an acceptance date. And then the earnest money date, the due diligence date, when that ends, right? Why we're having you guys do this is because we need to know that you know how to count your days. So if they accepted the offer today and it is the 13th, they just accepted our offer, when does day 1 start? If you've got a 10-day due diligence, when does day 1 start? starts tomorrow on the 14th, right? So that's why we have you fill this out, because we need to know that you know how to count. Because if you counted today, you just shorted yourself a day, right? So day 1 would be the 14th, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So your due diligence would end on the 23rd, right? And that's what date you put there. And if you go in my office, I have a whiteboard, and once you have it accepted, always goes to me, Tim, and Maria, and we make a list of your dates. So then that way, if you have a 10-day due diligence period, at day 9, I'm calling you or texting you, hey, just checking in to see what's going on with your file. Have you accepted everything? Because if there's something you don't like and they haven't accepted and they're gonna back out, you need to do it like now, right? Because they still have a chance to get their earnest money back. Why these dates are so important, especially when you have a buyer, is if you pass those dates and then something happens and they want to get out, they could forfeit their earnest money, right?
So it starts the next day of the acceptance.
Yes, acceptance date. Because if they accepted it at 9 a.m., great, you have all day today. But if they accepted it at 7 o'clock at night, you only have a couple hours. So day 1 always starts the very next day. And then due diligence, appraisal contingency, loan contingency, and your closing date, right? So all of those are start day 1 is the very next day.
Do I need to do this for the
You will need to do it even if it's a new build, but you're not going to have all those dates because you're not doing the appraisal. The loan contingency, you might have a date in there when you're doing new builds. So this is mainly for resales. I mean, you're all going to do it, but I'll be quite honest, you should forever do this. When you're on the Mentee program, it's required. But afterwards, you should always do this. And what I do is I go down to the LVR and I pick up those large manila, legal size manila folders. And it's got a whole bunch of spots in the front that you can fill everything in. And I do basic stuff in there, and it'll ask for the lender and stuff like that. And then when I open it, I will staple this, and then the last page of your packet looks like this. This is something I use. It's not required, but it's just, I use it for every transaction, because the first part is if I'm doing a listing, and then it'll switch into once I've accepted an offer, and it'll go through all the rest of it. If I just have a buyer, it starts in the middle, offer accepted, and then everything below that. But so I'll staple these 2 forms, right, in my manila folder. I'll open it up and staple these 2 forms. And then I still lift it up, and on the manila folder, I'll write listing agent's name, number, email, title and escrow, names, number, and email, lender, because if I've got my file and somebody calls me on it, I just open it up. I'm like, here's their information. Rather than going, okay, let me pull it up. Which escrow officer am I using? What's the lender? I want it all right there, guys. And then I take a picture of it, so it's in my phone. So if I'm traveling or I'm driving or I'm across town, I have all of their information there, right? But so this is super important here. And then that I just use, as you can see, I made this right around COVID. I updated it because it says COVID-19. We had a form that we had to fill out for COVID-19. We don't have to do that anymore. But yes. So all of that is in there, and it's just for you. And it's like even goes down to logging out of your cameras. If you're the listing agent, you make sure your sellers log out, and then when you're going to deliver the keys. When were the keys delivered or picked up by the buyer's agent? So super important. There's that. All right, so going back to this, page 2 of our packet. The listing agent should email you the SRPD and then the smart home disclosure within 5 days, but I try to get it within 1 to 2 days, because I want to give it to my inspector. The smart home disclosure is a disclosure to let you know what items in their house are attached to Wi-Fi and that have apps attached to it. But it also, on the top right corner, it asks for their speed of internet. Super important, because a lot more people nowadays are working from home. So they're like, I can't, there's some patches in town here that just do not have good internet, right? And so they're like, I can't buy this house. I work from home and I'm not gonna be able to log in, or whatever it may be. So that smart home disclosure, that's their cameras, their doorbells, their Nest thermostats, some of their refrigerators have Wi-Fi. It's everything, guys, right? So it all needs to be disclosed on there. Even if they have like automatic blinds that they can do on an app on their phone, if their pool is run by an app, like it all needs to be on that form, right? So you should get that as the buyer's agent right at the beginning. Then you'll need to schedule the home inspection. It takes about 24 hours after to receive that report back. Inspector will send you the report. Okay, title will also, right when you open escrow, within 24 hours, title will send out a welcome email, and then they're gonna send the buyer encrypted wire instructions to wire their earnest money, right? They used to send it to us, and then we used to have to give it to them. But there's so much wire fraud going on now, guys, that the title company sends it to the buyer encrypted. And what you need to tell your buyers to do is do not just open it and send money. You're going to open it, and it's going to give you a document that says wire instructions, routing number, account number, and then it'll tell you what to put on the wire, right? And so people just take it down to the bank and say, hey, wire $10,000 for me. I tell my clients, if they're my buyers, you're going to get this form, and then this is who you're going to call. And I give them back to the title escrow officer or their assistant, and I'll say, you're going to call one of these people and just say, I'm verifying my wire instructions. I don't have your wire instructions. I don't want your wire instructions. You are the only one that has it. So you're going to call up and say, can I verify my wire instructions? They're going to say yes, and then you're going to say, okay, this is my name, this is the house I'm buying, and this is the routing number and bank number you gave me. Is that correct? Yes. Now they're free to wire that money, right? So now they know, because what happens is the wire fraud, and people aren't understanding, is the escrow officer will email over wire instructions, but there is some criminal over here that grabs the email halfway through, changes the routing and the bank number, and then continues on. So when your client thinks they're wiring money to there, they're not. Now they're wiring it to this person. Yes, it is not title and escrow's fault. They sent the right ones, but it got intercepted. It's not the buyer's fault. Buyer just lost that money. There's no one to pay the buyer back. It's nobody's fault. So if they have, any kind of money that they lose is a big deal. But there are some people that do $100,000 EMDs, and they just lost it. Even $10,000 EMD. They lose their EMD, they might not be able to buy another home. So that's why you tell them they get intercepted. Even though they're encrypted, they get intercepted. So just call and verify. Because if it gets caught, you guys, there's no one that's going to pay you back. And then they kind of get it, Even if they're like, I'm just going to go to the bank, great, but you still have to make sure this is the number that you need to wire to, that it didn't get intercepted, right? So I can't stress that enough. And it happened to me 2 years ago with my client. And luckily she was she's in her late 60s, but she just took it, and I didn't even know she got it. And I told her to do it, but she just, they forget, guys. You have to tell your clients things over and over and over again. Okay, we opened escrow. They're going to send you wire instructions. Just make sure you go and just call them. And I say call, don't email, because the email can get stuck too. Just call up real quick. But she went right down to the bank, and she got in front of the teller, and it was the teller that caught it. And he's like, I don't think this is right. We do a lot of wiring to this escrow company, and this is not where, if he did not, she would have lost, it was $8,000 earnest money. So she's standing there crying. She calls her son. He's angry. He's calling me, and I'm like, whoa. I didn't even know she got them. Did she call? And he's got me on one phone and her on the other. She's like, no, I didn't call. I just came down here. And I said, that's why I told you to call. So luckily it was stopped and halted, and they issued new ones. But it's not the bank's fault. It's not the buyer's fault. It's not escrow. It just happened, right? So just make sure that they're doing that, right? Please have them call. Okay, the buyer will call. I put the escrow officer, Kathleen LaMarche, is who, one of our more popular escrow officers here at Rock Title. But they're going to call her just to verify that. Once the EMD is received from Title, they will email out a receipt to the buyers, to all the buyer's agent, the listing agent, and the seller. And then I don't know if the lender gets it, but we get it, guys, and that immediately goes to Maria, because Maria is your TC, right? Your transaction coordinator. So everything, once title is and once escrow is opened, everything gets emailed to me, Tim, and Maria, because we're reviewing it, and she's reviewing that the dates, times, and everything is there, signatures, and then she's uploading it, right? But still, throughout your whole transaction, you're going to fill something out, and you're going to send it to myself and Tim first to review. And then we'll make any corrections, and then have you make any corrections, and then you send it to your clients to sign. You do not send it to us the first time seeing it after your clients have signed it. Because I'm going to go, well, this is wrong and that's wrong, do it again. And then still this is wrong now too, do it again. And you lose all your credibility. So throughout the rest of your transaction, you're going to fill something out. You're going to send it to me and Tim, please review. We'll review it, tell you what corrections to make. You make the corrections and send it to your client. Once it's signed, then it goes to me, Tim, and Maria. And then Maria's job is to make sure the dates, the times, the initials, and the signatures all match. Tim and I are reviewing it to make sure it's filled out correctly. Maria's reviewing it to make sure all of the signatures and dates and times match. And then she uploads it correctly into SkySlope, right? So,
I have a question.
mhm.
So when we make the corrections that you and Tim have reviewed, then do we have to resend it?
Depends. It depends if it's just like, hey, change that date is wrong. But if there's 3, 4, 5, yeah, send it back to me.
Okay.
Because I've had people like, okay, sure, and then they change something else. And I'm like, now it really, because I'm reviewing it. Like when you guys are making an offer, you send me over the RPA when you fill it out. I'm pulling it up in the MLS. I'm making sure I'm looking at their remarks. I'm looking at the age of the home. I'm looking at the pictures. I'm going through every picture to see if there's any smart home, this, that. Then I'm checking solar panels. I mean, I'm checking everything while you're filling that out. You're just filling out the RPA, but I'm checking to make sure everything's included in there. And if they say, we'll give you a $2,000 carpet allowance, but you didn't put it in the offer, so I have to review all of that to make sure it's filled out properly, right? Then I'll say, okay, make this correction, that correction, then send it back to me. So for safety, yes, send it back to me. But if it's 1 or 2 things, I'll put in there, just make that correction, no need to send it back, you're good to go. Usually, but I prefer to just see them. Again, you're not bothering me, that is what my job is to do, is to make sure, because these are legal binding contracts, so if they're not filled out properly, you can be causing a lot of harm to your clients. Right. Okay, so then you're going to get an EMD receipt, like I said, and then you'll just immediately email it to me and Tim and Maria, and then she'll just upload it into your file. In the meantime, the lender will be contacting the buyer, and they're going to be sending them opening disclosures and things like that they have to fill out and verify this and this and this, and then they'll run the credit, and then they're asking bank statements, all the updated stuff. So that's the lender's job. Then they order the appraisal. So what happens is you open escrow, you order the home inspection. While the home inspection is getting done, the lender's ordering the appraisal, and it can take up to 2 weeks to get that appraisal out, or appraiser out there, and then they have to do the report and then get it back. So you do want to put 21 to 25 days for the appraisal, right? Sometimes it's 18 to 21. It just depends. Before you fill out a purchase agreement, talk to your lender. Hey, how many days do you need for appraisal contingency? How many do you need for loan contingency and close of escrow? Because sometimes the VA loans take a little bit longer. They know they get backed up, and they're like, hey, it's taking 2 weeks to even get, the VA appraiser out there. So they're like, give me 25 days, and then the listing agent should know, but if they call you like, why did you ask for 25 days? The lender needs it. He says the VA appraisers are backed up. We all get it. If you've got another person's hands in the pot, we're relying on them, and we have to do it at their time frame. But if you put 18 days and it's longer than that, then the listing agent doesn't have to extend. You just have to buy the house as is or back out right now. So that's why you really want to work. Everybody is working together. It's not just you and your client, right? And then, okay, so he does that. The seller usually orders the HOA docs within 48 hours is what they should do. And then it can take up to 14 days for us to receive those, right? So you can follow up after a couple of days, just making sure you guys ordered the HOA docs. Some listing agents forget. I've forgotten before. I'm like, oh, shoot, yeah, I'll expedite those. It's an extra $100 to expedite them, so you really don't want to do that if you don't have to. But they need to get out. And why the sellers don't order them ahead of time is they're only good for 90 days, right? And so you could order it, and then the deal fall apart, and then now it's another 60, 90 days before you get another offer. They're going to have to order another package. Sometimes some HOAs are nice and just get, I'll just sell you the updated things that we've updated, but the other just include it. But it's a big hit. They could be $300 to $500, depending on how many HOAs they have. And then there's also an HOA demand that has to be ordered at the same time. It's usually $150. It's really just to state that the sellers are in good standing. They don't have liens against their house. But Rock Title is the only one that I have found that has been on top of it. And like Kathleen will tell me, Wendy, I'm not going to order that demand just yet. Tell me that you're moving forward, because that demand has to be ordered every single time there's a buyer. So if I'm a listing agent and she's like, okay, we'll order the HOA package, because usually you're going to email the title company and say, can you please order the HOA package? And what they do, that means they're going to order the link to send to your clients. Your client has to pay for that. The sellers have to pay for that immediately, and then it takes up to 14 days to get it. But there are some title companies out there, and that's why we love our Rock Title. But some title companies are like, nope, I don't get involved with the HOA. So now you're having your seller call the HOA and try to order documents they know nothing about. And then they'll give them all these different links, and they'll have to put them in a shopping cart, and you're trusting that your seller has ordered everything that you need. And if not, it could be another 2-week delay to get one other thing that they forgot, right? So it's honestly, Rock Title they're very thorough in what they do. And so to save any distress and extra purchasing of the demand, they always tell you as a listing agent, they're like, we're going to order that demand. But then once you get through the appraisal and you know you're good, we're going to order the HOA docs. But then once we get through all of the contingencies, then we'll go ahead and rush that demand and then get that out to you. So we're not double paying for it or triple paying for it sometimes. So while we're ordering our home inspection as the buyer's agent, the sellers are ordering the HOA docs. It can take up to 2 weeks to get in. Once they deliver those HOA docs to you guys, immediately send them to your client because they have proof that they've emailed them to you, and that time clock ticks. You have 5 days, the buyer has 5 days to review them and back out if they don't like them. But if they send it to you, and then you wait 2 days, your client now only has 3 days left to review them, right? So you want to get them to them ASAP because I've had people back out because of HOA docs. So it's super important, and it's 5 days, that is it. Then you have to find another reason to back out. But by that time, you're out of your due diligence, you're out of your inspections, and probably out of appraisal at this point. So now you got to hope that the loan falls through if you want out. Otherwise, they're losing their earnest money. So that's why this form, the important contingency time frame form, is super important, guys, because you got to follow along. You should be looking at this every day you have a transaction. Anything I need to be doing, right? So they're going to order those HOA docs, and then the buyer can order the inspection. So let's go back to the inspection. Buyer orders the basic inspection, home inspection. If there's a pool, he'll order a pool inspection as well. And those are two different, it's like an extra $150 for a pool inspection, right? But then he gets it back and he's like, okay, the inspector says there's a lot of stuff going on with the roof. So you can hire a roofer to come out there and give you get an inspection and get a roof estimate. But also if you have solar, we have Mike Calvert from Solar Home Pros, or I think it's called. He's coming into our office meeting on Thursday, but you can hire him for $300 to inspect those panels. And he's going to tell you what they're generating, if there's any broken, if you need a pigeon guard, like if they need to be cleaned, if they're working. He's going to tell you all that. And then for $350, he can handle the transfer. Because there's 3 different transfers. There's the panel transfer, the inverter transfer, and the maintenance transfer. So if he doesn't do it, it's up to the sellers and the buyers to figure it out. And then they always turn to you guys, and it's not our job to do that. And we're all fumbling trying to get it done. So to me, whenever I had clients that had solar panels, I'm like, here's Mike's number. You're going to contact him for an inspection and for the transfer. Because I'm staying out of it. Because here's the thing. If something doesn't get transferred right, like a maintenance agreement, and it gets the buyer buys the house, and then the maintenance agreement doesn't get transferred over, who's maintaining those panels? It's null and void after like 30 days. So now they have to hire another company to pay for a yearly maintenance agreement, and it's a whole big mess, and they're going to be mad at you because you didn't follow through. It always comes back on us, guys. Jerry, did you have a question?
Yeah, what were the 3 transfers called again?
It's the panels, inverter, and maintenance. And then a lot of solar companies go out. So who's handling all that stuff now? So you have to get the whole solar contract. That's a whole other thing you need to get in that due diligence period, because your buyers need to review that solar contract in that 10-day due diligence period. And if they don't like the contract, they can back out. And there are some solar panels. You can own them, you can lease them, there's a power purchase agreement, they're all written up differently. But some of them are like, hey, they're traveling, you're gonna have to pay $150 a month for the next 25 years, and after that, you can renew for another 25 years, or we're gonna take the panels off. What am I paying for that? Like, I've just paid them outright, but no, you never own them. And then other ones, you'll pay for the panels, once they're done, there's no warranty on anything, they're done. Like, and then value to the home. If they're leased, there's no value at all until they're paid off. But once they're paid off, it goes on the age of the panels. If they're more than 10 years old, there's really no value to it. So people think they're getting value, but they're not. But then who's maintaining it? There's a lot of moving parts to solar panels. So I say, don't mess around with it. Call Mike at the solar company and just let him handle everything. They spell everything out for you, and it's one less thing that we have to worry about, right? Do you have any more questions, or are you good?
What's the name of the solar company?
Solar Pro, I don't know. It's actually, there's flyers right outside the door there, so you can get it on the end. I just know his name is Mike Calvert, Solar Pro something.
I'll be here, right?
He'll be here on Thursday. Yeah. We have him come in quite a lot because there's just so much going on with the solar panels. But anyways, okay. But during that 10-day due diligence period, your buyer can do any inspections. But also I tell them, drive by morning, noon, and night. You want to find out if the school bus drops in front of your house, or if there's a regular bus dropping behind your house. You want to go to Metro. You want to go to the Metro website and find out the crime in the area, sex offenders in the area. It's not your job to tell them anything. And just say, hey guys, you go through everything. Go talk to the neighbors. This is your time to inspect everything. It's not just inspections for the house. It's driving up and down, who the neighbors are, the area, the crime. It's everything. And they have 10 days that they can back out for any reason in that 10 days because they don't like something that they've found or seen or heard. And then you will get your home inspection and then write the repair request, which again, I have a whole nother video class on that one, and how to properly write it out. It's not just like, here's the inspection report, we want numbers 8, 10, and 12. Like, you have to write it out to make sure it's done properly. And then you'll attach the inspection report and send it over, and then you guys negotiate back and forth. They can fix repairs, they can fix nothing, they can give you a credit, they can fix some and give you a credit. Like, it's all negotiable. But here's one thing that I don't want you guys to get used to, because another agent, a brand new agent, just said, hey, we want to offer less on the house, the sales price, but they said they won't accept it. So we're going to just offer them full price, and then when we get the home inspection, we're going to take $25,000 off. That's not what the home inspection is for. You need receipts to show proof that it's valued at what you're asking for. And so if you say it needs a new roof, I need something that states that it needs a new roof and how much that's going to be. Otherwise, I'm not fixing it. I'm going to tell my sellers not to fix it. Like, hey, I don't, just give me $5,000 to fix all the plumbing. Where did you come up with that number? Because it's probably about $1,500. You know, that's the thing, is people think they're going to just take money off. That's not what that's for. The home inspection, the due diligence period is to do inspections. And then the repair request is to get things repaired. And they're not handing them a check. If they say, we'll give you $6,000 towards that, they're not handing them a check. They're just taking $6,000 off of what they have to bring in for closing costs. And buyers are they misunderstand that. And they close and they're like, where's my check for the repairs? No, it came off your closing costs. So now you have to take that $6,000 that you were going to bring in and use that for your repairs. They don't get it. So if I can get repairs done, I like to do that. So then it's just not so open-ended at the end, because usually they don't fix those repairs. And then in 2 or 3 years, they go to sell the house, and now that's coming up on their report, and they're like, well, they didn't fix it for us. No, but they gave you $6,000. You just chose not to fix it. So now you have to fix it. Or you have to give them money to fix it. And it just keeps traveling, right? And if it's something major, it could cause a lot of damage to the house, like water, dripping faucets, and now they've got even more expense, right? So I try to get them to repair it. Sometimes it just doesn't happen that way, and they have to just give a credit, but that's on that. So once you do all the repairs and everything, and once that's agreed upon, then we just wait for the appraisal, right? And the lender's ordering that appraisal. So the lender will call the buyer and the buyer's agent to tell them what the house was valued at. If we offered $480 and the appraisal came in at $480, great. What you're going to do is you're going to tell the listing agent, you're going to call them and just say, or email them. I like to email them. Just want to let you know, appraisal came in at value. We're moving forward. Do not tell them if it came in more. So if you offered $480 and it appraised at $500, do not tell them it came in more, because sometimes the agents or even the sellers are like, $500, I could get more. Drop them, give them their earnest money back, and let's list it for that. And then they go and relist it, and then that appraisal, every appraisal is different. So that appraisal comes in at $480 and they have to drop it anyways, and they just wasted more time on the market. But you don't want to lose it for your clients, right? So just say, oh, just letting you know the appraisal came in at value, we're moving forward, right? But if it comes in below, then you have a couple of options. You email the agent, and I like to do it in email so it's tracked, right? Just letting you know, we just received the appraisal. It came in at $450. Will the seller reduce the sales price? I always start right there. And if they say, nope, they're not reducing the sales price. Okay, so you can reduce the sales price, you can back out of it and get your earnest money and go find another home, or the buyer can come up half, the seller can come down half of it. I mean, it's all negotiating what you want to do. Or they could just say, no, we still want 480, so the buyer has to pay all of it. That's it. They got to pay the $30,000 out of pocket. That's what we want. That's what we're selling our house for. So it's all negotiating, right? These transactions are negotiating the whole way, right? So say at the very beginning, I give them an offer for $480 and I ask for $5,000 in closing costs and a home warranty of $800. They're like, cool. Then we do our inspections and something's major's wrong. And there's like $5,000 of stuff they need to fix. They can come back and say, we'll pay that $5,000, we'll fix the $5,000 worth of stuff, but we're no longer giving you closing costs. They can go back and renegotiate everything. So just because they've accepted your offer at the beginning does not mean it's standing. It's all negotiated throughout the whole process, right? So same with the appraisal. You get to the appraisal process. So you did your inspections, the due diligence, all of that, and now the appraisal comes in and you're like, ugh, what can we do? And now they want to take out your earnest money, your closing costs. The problem with that is some buyers can only buy a house if the seller helps with the closing costs. So if they say, well, hey, we'll drop our price to $550, but we're not paying that $5,000 anymore, it's a done deal because your buyer needs it. You go right back to say, let me talk to the lender, and you go right back to the lender, and he says, I can't get him a loan unless the seller helps. And you go back to that seller, and you're a listing agent, and you're like, hey, they have to. Yep.
So for the closing cost of credit, does it actually go to the lender, or how does that work? Because on my this deal, lender is gonna give them, my clients, 19,000 closing cost.
The lender or the builder?
It's a lender incentives, so I don't know where they're coming from. They say they can
Usually it's the builder incentives if you use their lender.
Oh yeah. So,
So that's coming from the builder.
so that actually coming in the escrow as a credit, or
No.
goes to the lender directly?
No, it doesn't go to the lender. Like they're like, hey, we'll give you $90,000 to pay for closing costs, to pay for upgrades, if you use our lender. Lender doesn't have anything to do with it. They're just trying to get you to use their
So
lender.
The builder is not giving the lender.
No, lender has nothing to do with it. It's going to the buyer.
Going to the buyer?
Yes, but towards closing costs, towards rate buy down, towards any of that stuff.
Right. So how does the escrow statement is gonna show that 19,000?
Well, it'll show however they're going to use it. So if they might go in there and say, hey, I don't need a rate buy down, I want to put $90,000 in upgrades in there. And so now they've just overly upgraded their home in there. Yeah. So they could say, hey, as an incentive, we'll give you $90,000 towards anything if you use our lender. But if you use your outside lender, you don't get it.
Oh, right.
And then they just take it right away, right? So it doesn't go to the lender, it just goes to them to try to keep it all in-house. And the reason why they try to keep it in-house is because if something falls apart with the lender, like if I use my own lender and something falls apart, then they lose the deal. But their lender has already guaranteed that it's going to go through. We will make it happen. If they have to wiggle the price or do whatever, they're going to do that, but they won't do that with the outside lenders. So they like to have, and I'm sure a lot of them own their own lenders, and like D.R. Horton has their own lending company and stuff like that. So it all stays in the family.
So that the $19,000 is gonna actually show in the statement, or no?
Well, it'll be broken down, because some of it might be towards closing costs. Some of it might towards rate buy down. Some of it might be towards upgrade. We don't,
So
because
we need to find out.
why do you? It doesn't really affect you.
Because it shows and then match up, is someone actually?
It will all match up because that's title and escrow's job.
Okay.
But yeah, like if they say the house is $480 and then you put in $19,000 in upgrades, there you go. Or if you put $10,000 in upgrades and then the lender will say rate buy down $5,000, so it'll be broken down like that. It's not going to just be one chunk. So yeah, it'll all be broken down to wherever it's going, right? Okay, so let's see, repair request, the appraisal, on all the different ways. Okay, there can also be appraisal repair conditions. So what happens is the appraiser says, I will value it at $480 as long as this and this and this are fixed. And then once you fix them, then I will grant you the $480. But if you don't fix them, it's not valued at $480. And it happened in my own home. Like like 10 years ago. We were buying the home, and then the appraisal came in, and he's like, oh, there are 3 steps in your garage going into the house. There's no handrail. Well, when they built the house, it wasn't needed, but now it is. And they said, well, we won't give you the loan until there's a handrail. Well, it was a short sale back then. Short sales, the sellers moved out, nobody paid, they weren't paying for anything. So in the middle of the night, my husband's in there and he's like drilling in this whole thing, this wood handrail. We take a picture of it, we submit it to our, lender, and then the lender sends it over to the underwriting, and then they say, okay, yep, and the appraiser sees it, we're good. And then but sometimes, like, you cannot do work on a home if you don't own it. But we talked to the homeowner and he says, I'm not putting another dime in this home. I'm $200,000 upside down. You want to do it? Go ahead and do it. He didn't care. It was either going to short sale or he was foreclosing on it. But normally, that's something the seller and the seller's agent have to deal with. Hey, our appraisal condition is you guys have to add that handrail. Sometimes they'll say, we'll add it. It's going to cost $3,000, so you guys will pay for it at close of escrow when it closes. And then now me as a buyer have to pay for that, and I have to give a credit or bring in $3,000 more. Again, everything is negotiated through the whole process, right? Because all these little bumps come up. And I always tell my buyers, don't worry, I'm going to try to make this as smooth as possible. There's going to be a bunch of bumps and a bunch of fires behind the scenes you're not even going to know about. But that's my job, is to make sure we go through them, and I will alert you if I need your assistance or I feel like it's something that you need to know. But otherwise, it's smooth sailing. Don't you worry about it. And then we as agents are back there going, oh my God, like, what do we got to do? How do we fix this? And you're talking to the lenders and the escrow, and that, like, everybody's involved, and the buyers and the sellers have no clue any of it's happening. We're just magicians, guys.
So for the 3 steps, even if it's inside the house, they need to have the handrails?
Well, it wasn't inside the house. It was in the garage. There were 3 steps going up into it ended up being our laundry room, right, when you open the door. But they just required it because the whole street came down like this. So we were on a slope, the whole street. So where we were at, he said, no, the slope they required it.
But if it was inside the house, they don't need to have the handrails, right?
I don't know if they request it. You have to, but it was called a tri-level house, but it wasn't. Like, you walk in the front door and there were 2 steps, and then you had dining area and the kitchen, and then you walk down 2 steps and it was the living room. So it wasn't like this deep down into this basement or anything.
Because I had the same, that's why I'm asking.
So it was, I think, mainly just because it was coming from the outside in. But yeah, I mean, when you go in the front door, there was like a little pony wall. So I guess if you needed assistance, you could. And going into the living room, same thing. So
I think it's like a 30 inches a requirement or something.
something like that. They have the appraisers are very specific, and they're like, oh, okay, I see stairs, and like they could fall off the stairs. Somebody needs a handrail. You just got to do whatever they want to do. And then they said that I had a patio, and there were these 2 holes where fans were supposed to go, and one of the holes had wires hanging down that weren't capped. And he goes, well, appraisal condition is they need to be capped. So we go over there, my husband pulls it, and he just pulls it right through. So somebody had stuck a wire up there, like they were gonna hang something, but it wasn't attached to anything. It was just a wire. So he pulled it through, and he's like, okay, caps, we're good. Like, it was, they just ask for the random things, but they won't appraise it at that value until those little things are done. So you just have to go through that. But, and then whenever you receive an email from, this is super important. When you guys are talking to each other, agent to escrow, the lender, whenever they send you something, just put received. Just so they know you got it, right? Because the most annoying thing is I send something to a listing agent, and then I'm like, 2 days later, I'm like, I haven't heard. I called, yeah, I got it. Okay, well, how do I know? Like, everything is time sensitive, especially from the lenders in title and escrow. When they send you something, put received, thank you. That's it. That's all you have to do. Get used to doing that with everything. I do it with my clients. I do it with friends now. And I'm like, received. They're like, how about lunch? I'm like, cool, good, received. Whatever.
You send a message.
Just an email. If they text you, if they text you, I put a thumbs up. Okay, cool, got it. Whatever. Just let them know that you did receive that message and it just wasn't falling through the cracks there. Because especially like HOA package. They're going to send it to email it to you, and it's date stamped, but they don't know if you got it. So just say received. So now they know you got it. It's up to you to get it to your clients. But then if I send a package and you don't respond to me, I'm going to within 2 hours say, hey, I just sent you did you get that? Okay, cool. Can you just respond to the email? Because I want a writing back saying you received it. Because later on you're going to come back and say, oh, my time is up. I forgot. I never got it. And I'm like, I called you and you said it, but it wasn't recorded. So just make sure you do that. But anyways, okay, so that's all with my notes. We discussed this SRPD, And then there's also, this is the smart home disclosure. I talked about, hey, it's a smart home disclosure. The top right is where the internet speed, but then they're gonna list anything that, the make, the model, the quantity, like how many blinds that are electric or how many cameras they have. And what's super important about this is if your clients fill this out, now you need to follow up at the very end before it closes and said, I need to show you to show me proof that you have logged out of all this stuff. Because the worst thing is if they've got cameras in the house and they don't log out, they're watching the new buyers, right? So usually when they log out, they'll say, they'll get some kind of a confirmation that says they've logged out, whether that's an email or a text message or something, right? And it's a 2-pager, right? And then again, important contingency.
So they should log out when
At the very end. At the very end, like right before it records, like they've signed and we know recording that afternoon or the day before. If they're like, I'm not in the house anymore, I vacated, well, you can log out, you know. Some people are like, I'm watching my house to the minute it records. Okay, well, just show me proof. Even if it records, okay, it's recorded, can you please show me proof that you've logged out of the cameras? I have to have that, you know. Is there anything written? No, but you guys, we have to also think for our buyer safety, for our sellers. You don't want the buyers accusing the sellers of watching them, like, and you're like, no, I logged out. Like, just show proof it was logged out of. That's it. And then if they, what I like the sellers when I have a listing, I like my sellers to give some information and leave it on the kitchen counter. Here's how you set the timers. Here's how you do the pool lights. Here, you know, anything they can. But some sellers, for whatever reason, they're just nasty. And they're like, I'm not giving them information. Well, why? So now they've got to hire somebody to figure out how to work the whole pool and just give them what you got. You know, like they bought your house. They want to make it their home, like, but they get so angry sometimes. So you're putting out fires all the whole time. But it's not every transaction is easy. Not every transaction goes well. And nobody is to judge you on that because you could be the best agent in the world. But you have people that they call you names, they swear at you, they want to open a lawsuit. You're like, what did I do? You know, like, you sided with them and you're supposed to. I do, but I have to be the, you know, the logical one here. Like, I don't have money invested in here. You guys have money invested. So, hey, logically, let's do this and this and that, you know. But, you know, it is what it is. It's a fun business, but you have to know what you're doing. And so when the agents are like, oh, I haven't seen you in 2 years, but I'm going to do something. And it's like, but are you going to do something? Like, you don't even know where to start. Like, these are legal binding agreements, guys, and we have to watch out for both parties and all parties and us as agents. The other agent on the other side, it doesn't have to be your best friend, but it doesn't have to be your enemy too. Sometimes they come at you that way. But just say, hey, I'm here to get through this as well. We want to sell this house together. Let's just, you know, try to be as upbeat as possible. But if they come at you nasty, try not to give it back to them, but stand your ground. Don't be run over. This is not how I do it. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, this is what my broker's requesting. When in doubt, throw the broker out there. This is what my broker's requesting. I can't go forward without it. This is what my broker needs. You know, I'm not your broker. I'm your sales manager. I don't hold a broker's license. But again, sometimes when you just say something like that, I don't personally need it, but my broker needs it. The TC has requested it and the broker wants it. You know, like, sorry, sir, I just need it. But again, just because you're newer doesn't mean that you need to just roll over and take their nastiness, right? So just be strong. You're confident. You know what you're doing. We have tons of videos on that. We have tons of classes. So if you need anything, let me know. I think we have one more class this month. Maybe not. If not, we'll roll into November. Might get a little slow in December because it is the holidays and a lot of realtors travel at that point. But we're updating all of the videos. So if you need anything, just go back to the YouTube channel. It's there. But all right, thank you.
Thank you.